Welcome to the Billionaire Lifestyle Podcast with your host, Emmett Muckles. Please visit iTunes, Stitcher, or emmettmuckles.com to listen to all the episodes for free.
Hey ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Billionaire Lifestyle. This is your host, Emmett Muckles, and today I am here with the Executive Director of NABCEP. And for those of you who don't understand what NABCEP is and how important it is, if you've ever seen a solar installation and you've seen those people who are working on that installation, they had to get their knowledge somewhere. There's a foundation that they need, and there's a continuing education program. NABCEP is that entity. How you doing, Shawn?
Doing well, Emmett. How you doing?
I'm doing well. So let's backtrack a little bit, and if you can tell me what brought you to NABCEP.
Well, I've been in the certification industry for about 25 years, and I was looking for something. When I first entered into the industry, I was working for a company that was very similar to where NABCEP is in this stage of life as far as the industry. 20 years later, that organization went from 10 employees to 110 employees, working in 17 different countries. I kind of want to get back to that. When I found out about the position being open at NABCEP, I wanted to get back to working with the smaller group, getting to know everyone in the industry, sort of back to that community.
Yeah.
And so I applied for it. It just, the idea of it being renewable energy and where we were in the world with that added to it. And so I came from mental health, which was great for 20 years, to be able to say, you're not just certifying or licensing or help license someone in a profession. It's a profession that is helping people. And so I like the idea that what NABCEP was doing, it allowed me to keep that as well.
So was there any challenges for you moving into this very technical industry, becoming acclimated to all the jargon and terms, because now you're dealing with the National Electrical Code, you're dealing with state jurisdictions, you're dealing with a lot of what we would call quirky personalities in industry in America, because solar is a very different kind of entity. So how was that learning curve for you?
It was, that was my biggest challenge. Coming in, I knew I understood NABCEP as a business and what they need to do to spread the education and to get people certified so that there was safe installations, not only in North America, but around the world. I knew how to spread that message, so to speak. You're right, the technical part. A year ago, you asked me about doing something like this, and I said, I was a little apprehensive because I've been on the job a couple months, and it was like, but over the last year and a half, taking some courses, online courses through some of the training providers, our own continuing education conference. I sit in on some of the sessions, just trying to learn as much as it. Some of it's over my head. I love math just as a hobby, so some of that is good, so I can absorb that. But I'm not going to learn it all in a year, but I plan to stick around for a long time. So I plan to be able to, one day be presenting at our own continuing education conference.
So for the people who don't know what NABCEP stands for, can you explain that to us?
Sure. First of all, it's the North American Board of Certified Energy Practitioners. Our mission is to, we don't train. We do approved trainings or registered trainings so that the individuals who want to get into the profession will know if it has that NABCEP seal of approval, they know they're getting a quality training.
Yeah.
Okay, so they can come in as just in the very beginning. We have community colleges. We're starting to work with actually some high school programs where they want to get some of those students who are interested in. And it's a very basic, fundamental courses that we have 200 training providers who are registered to teach that training. We call it the PV Associate. They need to follow what we do as a job task analysis. So we make sure that those trainings cover certain competencies because we want to make sure those individuals have that. Part part of our mission is just to make sure not only that they get that initial training, but they maintain that and increase that training throughout their career. And that's a big step, I think, for the solar industry, is that previously was seen as a role.
Yeah.
Right? Today, we want people to see it as an occupation and a career path. Not just, I'm going to go do this, and then, I'm going to tool around in it, and then I'm going to go do something else in my life when I grow up. We want them to see that, coming out of high school even, and particularly in college, they can come out, have a degree, and then start getting into the solar industry in a variety of different areas. One of the things NABCEP's doing and about to launch is 3 new credentials, what we're calling specialty credentials, because we're seeing that over the years, it's gone from the single guy doing everything, from the tech sales to the installation to the operation and maintenance, inspection. So last March, we launched 2 new certifications for inspectors. So for PV inspector and a solar heating inspector.
Oh, cool.
And so then in probably right after this conference, the new requirements come out in January, but we'll have a specialty for a design specialist and operation and maintenance specialist, and then an installer specialist, and there's a fine line. We have our flagship certification, the PV installation professional, compared to the installer specialist. An installation specialist was developed, so that is the person who does jack of all trades.
I got you now.
Other than maybe the tech sales, they will do the installation, design, installation, operation, the maintenance stuff, service calls. But what we're seeing is, and we were approached by a variety of people saying, hey, I only do designs. Is there a certification for me? And they didn't want to do, although the PV installation professional covered design in its competencies, that person really doesn't get on a roof or doesn't do that type of stuff. So we decided it's time. The design part is becoming really its own occupation.
It is. And one of the things that, as a technical trainer, which I've been for quite a few years now, I've actually seen the impact of NABCEP in my own classrooms. When I get someone who says, hey, how many credits is this worth? That lets me know that they're into NABCEP. Versus those who just come in and sit down, I can immediately understand that I actually have to oftentimes backtrack to the fundamentals before I can move forward with my plan of training, because they simply don't have the fundamentals of understanding how PV works, the intricacies, the planning, or just the troubleshooting. So this is where I find it so valuable that NABCEP is here and offering these trainings and saying, hey, this is accredited through us. We approve that this is going to hit your target objectives for whatever piece of the market that you guys are in. Are you guys going to branch out further in North America? Because I only hear about it in United States.
We had what I would call a soft launch of international expansion. Yeah. So back in December, we launched the ability for someone who's taking that PV associate training I spoke about to be able to at least sit for the examination outside North America. Previously, there was a variety of trainers who were U.S.-based or North American-based trainers who would go to Mexico or Colombia or the Middle East somewhere, and they would train for Saudi Electric. But then there was nowhere for the student. The students had to come to the U.S. to take the exam.
Oh, really?
Yeah, there was no way from there. So we launched a computer-based testing platform with our vendor, Castle. And so now those students we've tested students in Colombia, Honduras, all over the world, now we're able to test those students. And with that, we then also launched the ability for the training institutes outside of North America to be registered as well. So we're working with 2 government-endorsed training institutions in India, who are now
it's growing fast.
Saudi Arabia, Jordan, Dubai, a couple other, I can't recall off the top of my head, I apologize.
That's all right.
It's just every week we get 2 or 3 inquiries about, we're working with the Ministry of Education in this country or that country, and we have the support of the Division of Renewable Energy in India, and we want to, that we have support for them to do this. Our biggest challenge right now is that's for the PV associate, which doesn't really cover the national code.
That's what I was about to ask.
So when we go to the other certifications and trainings that cover the code, that becomes a big issue where we have to work with them to say, how can we best cover this? So, because what I think people don't understand is when you develop a certification program from if you do it from sort of just zero base and start from the beginning, it can cost upwards of $250,000.
And you have to have governments involved sometimes too.
Yeah. And so I've done it before, as I said, in the mental health industry, where working with ministries of health and education, where they have the support. And as we grew, previous company, as we grew, we were able to fund those ourselves. So that's my goal for NABCEP. As NABCEP grows, and you go into these countries that have, luckily if they have electricity 3 hours a day, to we go in and say, no, we're going to do this ourselves. So part of that, we did the Walt Ratterman Award just the other night, and did a donation to Remote Energy, which is a nonprofit that goes into development countries and helps. And their program is nice and fits well with NABCEP's vision, is that they're not just going in and putting an installation up; they're training trainers.
Okay.
So that's what I like. Is it makes it into that sort of. It evolves and will go on forever as long as you got trainees training that next generation of trainers, that next generation of trainers.
So it's going to be like basically a move up, like a conveyor belt.
Yeah.
Right? You train somebody, they're going to move up.
Yep.
And then you're going to have your seniors, and you got a new crop coming in.
Exactly.
So it's a revolving.
And by nature, it just creates a nice mentoring program, so those younger folks get trained.
Oh, you just said something really awesome, because I don't see this like I used to when I was younger, which is you found yourself a mentor, or you didn't even have to find it. They found you and said, look, I'm going to show you what to do. All you need to do is shut up and listen. But you don't see that anymore.
You're right, you don't.
And that's one of the things, even in one of my courses, when I'm talking about MC connectors, I ask a question. Did someone grab an MC connector and put it together before you, or did you go to a course where they had a training program that showed you how to build an And most people say, well, there was a guy or girl or male or female who said, look, take this part, do this part, which is mentorship.
Yeah.
Showing you the safety of how to get in a harness and get on the roof. And, you start off with just mentorship, and then they say, okay, you've branched out enough. Now we got to send you to some courses for NABCEP to elevate you to the next level. One of the things there's a couple things. You have an awesome staff.
Yes.
You have a passionate staff. I talk with Ursula, and she has her niche, and she's really good at it. She's really passionate about it. And then you see Sue for all your events. She's always just upbeat, and she works sometimes 12, 15, 17 hours a day, and she's always there. And I've seen this over the years. So you got lightning in a bottle with that, because, some organizations, there's a lot of management that you have to do. So I want to commend you for your team, because your team is really awesome. And I implore anybody who is starting in the solar industry to reach out to NABCEP and get your trainings approved. And so how does it work for keeping yourself going and being self-sustainable? Because I know it requires a fee for us to get our training certified, but are there other income levels that help to grow this business?
Well, for our business.
Yes, for
our business. Part of it is the conference itself.
Yes.
The Continuing Conference. But the other is the value of being certified. So NABCEP has to do, in the certification world, NABCEP's relatively young. There's been certifications around for 75, 100 years and longer.
Yeah.
And we're relatively young. So in the past, NABCEP as an organization has done really well at getting the word out to the professionals, to the installers, and saying, you should get certified, here's why. We now need to turn around to work with and communicate with employers to tell them why you should be hiring a certified individual, and then let them know what they've done to get that certification and what they will do or have done to keep that certification.
Yeah.
So working with employers and then working with the consumers, whether or not it's the CFO who's going to approve a big system, or it's the homeowner who's going to approve for them a big system that's going to be on their roof or in their backyard, letting them know that you need to ask these questions. Same questions you may ask your realtor or your CPA.
Yeah.
Are you certified? Are you licensed? When the technical salesperson first knocks on their door or phones them up, yeah, we're very interested. Are you certified through NABCEP as a technical sales, individual professional? And then when the crew comes, at least is the crew leader certified by NABCEP? So asking those questions. So we're going to have a pretty large campaign in 2018, public service announcements. No, it's not revenue generating, but it's educating employers, educating the consumers.
Yeah, because it brings a great deal of value. I can't even explain in words, because I've seen it in the workmanship. It cuts down on, it makes the performance of PV systems or renewable energy systems far longer than those who don't, because there's these little mistakes that people make, and you can tell immediately, like when I'm having a conversation with someone, usually troubleshooting, and like, this person's not NABCEP certified. They don't even know what NABCEP is. And that's one of the greatest values that you bring, because one of the things I always say is that the PV industry is always under assault because we are challenging an old staple, which is fossil fuels.
Yes.
And I'm waiting for this tipping point, which NABCEP is going to help facilitate, which is the understanding of the public. Is there anything that you guys are thinking about doing for the general public for awareness of PV or NABCEP or certifications? I know you said you're going to do it.
We're going to, and we've started. There's a company called Solar Reviews, and it's sort of like the Angie's List for solar. And we're working with them to make sure, because what happened when an installation company will list their company on in their directory, they were able to say, we have these people as certified installers. But there was not a real good verification of that.
Yeah.
So we're working with them just to say, we're going to verify and make sure all these people are certified, all this company is accredited. So, and we're working with Energy Sage in that area as well. So we're going to partner with. I see no reason to reinvent the wheel in doing some of this public service announcements and reaching out to the public to educate them. So I've spoken with a lot of companies that have a lot of consumer guides. SEI has, ASEA has a lot of consumer information. So I spoke to their external person in their legal counsel and said, can we use that as well? We're not going to take credit for it. We'll give you credit for it, but we want to help disseminate that information to the public to educate them. And whether or not it leads to more people getting certified, there's really no way to calculate that.
Yeah.
But will it educate the public, and will more of the public be educated? Absolutely. And that's the main thing we want to do, is to make sure that those systems are safe and that the public knows the questions to ask. That's the thing. When previously when a tech sales or a salesperson would go to them, they really, because the industry was so new to them, and so they didn't really have a set of questions or the right questions. They didn't know the right questions to ask. So that's what we want to do, is make sure they have that checklist, ask those questions, get those answers, have a place to call. Part of certification is we have a very strong code of ethics. And
yes, you do.
we have legal counsel that, if we get a complaint from a consumer, we follow up, and there's hearings and everything. So we go. It could be a 6-month process where we go through the whole thing and get all the evidence. And if the person did violate the code of ethics, there are ramifications. They could lose their certification, or they could be suspended for a while. So we do follow up on that to make sure consumers are protected.
You offered something really good with Jeff Spees, who was actually one of my earlier guests, or like one of my first guests. he was working on the movie, and he actually aired the entire movie, which lends itself to the contributions that the people in the PV and renewable energy make. You have a lot of volunteers. You have people who just offer their services for the betterment of the industry. Do you see that continuing, or as it grows, do you see where you're going to have to bring people into your organization proper?
I see it continuing only because of the solar. The energy source of solar is a passion for people, not only because there are some who love the technology end of it, but it's those who love the fact that it's renewable and it's good for our planet. And that's part of their core.
Yeah, they have a passion about it.
And so one of the things we want to do is, as I said earlier about high school students, is get to those younger students who have that passion, and they may not know anything about solar. They just know they have it in their soul that we have to do things to protect the environment. Yeah. And so when they learn about solar more, they're like, I like this, I can do this. And so whether or not they decide to make it a career or to say convince their mother and father to put solar on their home. Yeah. So it's really interesting to see that, and I've seen it with this conference this year. Some younger professionals coming, to the conference and realizing what NABCEP is. So it's nice to see it's not just those pioneers coming, and we get younger and younger folks
every year
to volunteer, also to say, how do I volunteer for NABCEP? So once they see this, and so that's going back to the whole the mentoring. They get a kind of mentoring while they're here.
Good.
And so they see these folks who are in that film. I mean, some of the individuals in the film that you're referencing are here at this conference.
I know. That's what
so they get to see them and say, oh my God, I'm standing here next to line, whether it's in line to get food or sitting next to them in a training session, but this is a pioneer I'm sitting next to. It's great, it's like, and they get to say, wow, and our pioneers are not shy and that's fun. And so they will shake someone's hand, they will say hi, and they'll talk to anyone. That's just the nature of who they are. So I see it growing, and and NABCEP will start probably right before the conference next year, launching a mentoring program that will sort of start at the conference, where we'll start with the sort of a buddy system. Those who would come to the conference for years, being paired up with 2 or 3 newbies who never come to the conference to help them go around and meet people at the conference. And then from that point going forward, just mentoring them, maybe just emails or phone calls, just if they have a question about something. And I think, as you said, our volunteers are very dedicated.
Yeah, they are.
I think we'll be able to get a good amount of people in the beginning to do that mentoring, and I think we'll have a lot of young folks who will be willing to do that.
All right, I'm going to ask you a personal question now.
Sure.
So your name is Shawn O'Brien with a very Boston accent. So did you intentionally make sure that the conference was after St. Patrick's Day?
No. I was actually here St. Patrick's Day. I had to come up on Saturday. It's interesting. Niagara Falls has on record the shortest St. Patrick's Day parade. It's a half a block long. It starts right down here and it goes like a half a block, and then they have a very large party, I guess, in the convention center. So yes, I waited. Originally from Boston, lived in Japan for 4 years, teaching, running a school there. Then,
So education is in your DNA.
Oh yeah, always has been. Sociology major in college, but always been teaching, always been educating. It's teaching, educating, career development is really a passion for me.
Yeah, and you don't hear that much anymore, because I remember in the 90s, I was working in a job and I went for an interview, and I'd been with the previous job for 7 years, and the guy in the interview was like, "You've been with this company for 7 years." It's like, yeah, it was a lot to learn. And it kept coming up. And I said, why do you keep asking me why I've been at a job for 7 years? He's like, well, nowadays we consider that lazy. I was like, well, I come from a hodgepodge of generations of like auto workers and people from the 60s, where you retired from wherever you got, once you settled in. but the life has changed here. But our technology changes so fast, and with NABCEP, even if you're in a job, you're going to be continually learning something new because it literally changes about every 3 years with the National Electrical Code, with the advances in technology, and you guys are keeping people up on that. So the last thing I'm going to ask you is, how can people contact you? The website, the Twitter, the Facebook, all of that.
Yeah, I would say the best way is, we have a lot of contact information on the website. You can call, right there, we have an 800 number. Just call up. There's a nice directory there. If they're interested in training, if they happen to conduct a training and want to be able to get that out to individuals, just call up, as you mentioned, Ursula. They can ask for Ursula. She'll take care of them. I take calls. I mean, I like to be very hands-on with the staff. And as you said, the staff is great. I get personally a lot of compliments for this conference here and other things that NABCEP's done. And I always say, I'll let the staff know, because I tell them, I say, they just come to me and I'm just a yes or no man. That's it. I just say yes, no, yes, no. They're brilliant. They're enthusiastic, lots of energy. No one comes in the mornings. No one comes in grumpy. They all like to come to work, which I love. And we have a lot of fun. And we always say to each other, if we're going to spend a third of our life with our coworkers, we want to have fun with our coworkers.
Yeah, that's true.
So we have a lot of fun, and everyone just likes coming to work.
And that's NABCEP.org, correct?
Yes.
So don't put .com, it's .org, and you can go there. You can find out any of your information. I know I said the last one was the last question, but I want to put this tidbit in, because there are probably some college courses that are starting to develop things that are renewable. You work with them as well, correct?
We do, yes.
So,
we work with it. We have a lot of them in the SUNY, the New York State educational system and universities. University of Virgin Islands has an approved course. So
if you are Academy of Higher Learning, please contact NABCEP and include them into your portfolio. This has been Emmett on the Billionaire Lifestyle. So here's something that I always say. You guys know what I do. When you wake up in the morning, or when you're going to bed at night, when you get in the shower and you get out the shower, you're not going to have any clothes on. I want you to just take some time and look in the mirror, and I want you to study yourself, because a lot of times we don't give ourselves credit. We don't give ourselves the love and attention that we personally from ourselves. We're constantly looking from the outside world. So look into your eyes, and when you look directly into your iris, you're going to see that something that looks like a universe that lets you know how special you are. Also, when you see another universe in another person's eyes, know that they are special too, and treat them just like you want to be treated. Until next time, love you all. Peace.